companion today. Conditions apply. The time by Sajik Life is
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the U.K., 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, examining the plans of the new Minister of Education. And in second watch, what does Christian persecution really look like? For our social media question, we ask, with a new Minister of Education at the head, what would you like her to focus on going forward? Share your responses on our Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp, 876-9973-125, using the hashtag Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on the program, but first, here's I quote.
All right, good morning. Today's I quote says, "The inherent nature of deception lies in the fact that the deceived party remains unaware of both the deception itself and the identity of the deceiver." This one is from Reverend Sean Clue.
And just for a bit of context, I'm told that the word party in this context is referring to the individual or the person.
Right.
Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning.
The first watch will be back after this break.
In light of the prevailing drought conditions affecting sections of the island, Love 101 FM, the family station, would like to share some water-saving tips to use during this period. Instead of washing driveways, pavements, and steps, use a hard broom to sweep these areas. Save the rinse water from the kitchen or laundry to water plants, and do watering in the early morning. This prevents fungus growth, which occurs when you water in the evening. Also,
On this next episode of the Mailbox, as we will look at young men and ministry. November is Youth Month, and young men in Christian ministry can be a key influence in the lives of their peers. Churches can also engage them in a number of ways, including providing opportunities for them to preach, teaching Sunday school classes, and actively participate in youth ministry gatherings. You are invited to join the conversation with Pastor Stephen Blake, aka the Dancehall Pastor, on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station. Love 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Foxridge Company Limited. That's Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. only on the Family Station. Love 101. The Mailbox. Monday up.
Yes. Strong man. Integrity man.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, or the first watch. We have a new Minister of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, that of Dana Morris Dixon. And she identified early childhood education as a top priority. Now, we have heard about the importance of early childhood education before, So, what would or could make the focus on early childhood education now any different? Well, we have as our guest today Stuart Jacobs, president of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica, and Trudy Lee Panton, secretary, Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, otherwise called the JAHS. Well, Trudy and Panton will enlighten me if that's how they pronounce the acronym or the abbreviation. Good morning, Trudy Lee Panton. Good morning, Stuart Jacobs.
Morning, Stokeley. Good morning, Trudy.
Good morning, gentlemen. And it's just for short.
I wondered, but I said, let me hear it from her. My mind said to me, I think that's how they pronounce it.
Yes.
Now, quickly, the new Minister of Education wants to focus on early childhood education. Your thoughts, and of course, well, some might be asking, well, what about the primary level through to the tertiary level? Or, what's the focus so much on early childhood education at this time? Why single that one out when there are other important groups or categories or areas as well? Trudy Lee Panton, would you like to comment first?
Okay, sure. Thank you. I actually very much appreciate the focus on early childhood. As a parent myself, I am very much aware of the importance of setting the foundation for your children's future. And so I believe that I think it's a good step to start at the earliest years and to set the foundation, because definitely once you have those first years established in terms of nurturing and the overall support for the child, I believe it should be impactful in later years.
Any special comment in relation to homeschooling? Because homeschooling, I know you can have different formats. Sometimes it can be the parent alone teaching their own child or children. It can be a particular parent teaching their own child or children, but they might have a couple other children from other families who are in that homeschooling space. So, any comments on early childhood education from a homeschooling perspective?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, for us as homeschoolers, it is most critical that children spend their time in the most nurturing space that the Almighty provided, which is the home. And I'm really hoping that Minister Dixon will engage the homeschool community even more directly in terms of ensuring that the support is garnered for parents. We are the ones who need that support, that encouragement, the guidance to ensure that we are doing what we can, doing the best we can for our children. So I am particularly interested.
I think you're now muted, Trudy Lee Panton. I'm not too sure what might have happened. I think you became muted before you were through speaking, but I think you became muted before you were through. But I think we heard when you said it would be interesting too, and I think that's where some of us might have stopped hearing you.
Okay, so I was just saying it would be interesting to have conversation with her around how her team will be working with homeschoolers to very much garner to put forward rather some of the goals that she herself and her ministry has established or determined to be important in relation to early childhood. I believe it starts with the parents. The conversation must be engaged with the parents and guardians of the children at that age before any institutional support is established.
Understood. Stuart Jacobs, her wants to focus on early childhood education. your thoughts. What about the primary level through to the tertiary level, Stuart Jacobs?
First of all, morning again, Stokeley, and Miss Trudy, Miss Panton. First, let me congratulate the new minister, and also to thank publicly the outgoing minister, Faber Williams, for her support of the NPTAG over the period and her managing that ministry. That is so important to us as a nation. If you look at the budget that was read, the last budget that was read, there was nothing really in it for ECIs, early childhood education institutions. There was not really a specific budget, although the Ministry of Education has the largest chunk of the budget each year, but there was none. Not to say that there isn't an emphasis on it. So what I would be asking of the new minister is the concentration on early childhood is most important. She has been one that has led some form of research on it in recent times. But in order for us to look at some realities that is happening, we have children being matriculated to high school in grade 7 who can't read and write. They just can't read and write. They're not functional at the primary level, the ordinary primary level. So there's that gap between the primary school and early childhood. Early childhood is definitely important, and that is when a lot of the skill sets are honed, and that is where you can get the mind, the brain to start accepting and working with certain of a critical thinking from that stage. And so that gap is where I would want for her to really concentrate on, not just ECIs, but that transitional period between early childhood and primary education. And because if you fix early childhood and you fix primary, you don't have the problem that you have in high school. Let me tell you, CSEC and GSAT will be an easy cinch. When you look at other jurisdictions, to the Caribbean, Barbados, Belize, Guyana, that I've had personal contact with, having lived in those areas, there's this great emphasis on early childhood education, and not to say that it's not been done here, but I would like this minister to take it to another level where if a child is in basic school, let me go back, let me put some age on myself now. In my time, we call it basic school. If we take a child should not leave basic school and enter primary school without knowing the ABC, the basic fundamentals, the rudiments of the alphabet and so on, and to put words together and to put a simple sentence together and to identify shapes and objects. Keep them in early childhood, because there's no such thing on age limit at the tertiary level. You can be 70 and be doing your first degree. Why do we put an age limit to early childhood, primary and secondary? Because if the child is not ready for whatever reason, it could be a learning disorder that needs to be worked on. It could mean that there's something happening in the home that might have affected the child, learning ability. Then allow the system to teach that child, to get that child ready for the next level. Do not send them through the system. And that's what I would want to ask of this minister. Do not send the child through the system so they become a number to graduate. It must be a cause that makes them a reason, an accomplishment that makes them leave from early childhood to primary, to secondary, and on to other studies. But we should not have a child in third form, fourth form in high school, barely learning to read and write. Because those...
Only because of time, I'm going to ask you to hold your thoughts for a minute, because I think we're upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. Very important discussion. We'll be right back on Morning Watch.
Save on your PSA and pap smear tests with your NHF card. Get $1,600 off your PSA test and $1,300 off your pap smear test. Apply for the NHF card today. The time by the National Health Fund is
7:15.
Changes are easy to busy. When cheap diapers are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Up. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin protected. When they begin to fall, changes are easy to busy. Magic sparkling non-alcoholic water. Guaranteed to have a good time.
white grape, red grape, strawberry, peach. Any celebration, the buckle up reach. Pink and blue magic papa baby shower. Mixed fruit, pineapple, coconut, good for every hour. I'm the Jamaican sorry. Mix are straight, everybody can manage.
Make magical moments with Magic Sparkling.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Kay. She loved to dance and play. One day at school, she got very ill, and Mom was left with an unbearable bill. It would be easier if Mom was prepared. With School Companion, 80% of the bill is cleared. Medical care for children is a must. For as low as $2,540 per month, make unbearable medical bills go away. Sign up for Sagicor School Companion today. Conditions apply.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your wealth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Don't miss the next episode of the Mailbox as we will look at young men and ministry. November is Youth Month, and young men in Christian ministry can be a key influence in the lives of their peers. Churches can also engage them in a number of ways, including providing opportunities for them to preach, teach in Sunday school classes, and actively participate in youth ministry gatherings. You are invited to join the conversation with Pastor Stephen Blake, aka the Dancehall Pastor, on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Foxridge Company Limited. That's Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101. The Mailbox, Monday up.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are having a very important, very interesting discussion this morning on the topic, examining the plans of the new Minister of Education. We are speaking to Stuart Jacobs, President of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica, and Trudy Lee Panton, Secretary, Jamaica Association of Homeschoolers, otherwise called JAS, J-A-H-S, JAS. Now, Stuart Jacobs, just before the break, you were making a very important point. I would like you to continue, but before you do, sir, I want to throw just one or two ideas out there so that you can consider it in your further response. We know that there was a time when a program known as the Jamaica Movement for the Advancement of Literacy, otherwise called JAMAL, had been introduced to address illiteracy, whether semi-literacy or more than semi-literacy in adults. And as time went by, another institution came to be born, that of the Jamaican Foundation for Lifelong Learning, which one can make the case that it performed a similar role or performs a similar role. Stuart Jacobs, continue your response. And if you could consider those two institutions in your response, we would appreciate it, sir.
Jamal was certainly, Jamal came out in the 1970s, the initiative was in the 1970s, and Jamal was really successful, without any doubt. Our literacy rate climbed to double digits under that, and it created a bit of confidence. In fact, out of the Jamal program, a different workforce was employed, was created. You had persons who had skill sets. They had all of the acumen that could make them into an active middle class, but they weren't able to associate themselves were able to now read and write and make themselves more viable to the society. That worked. The one that replaced it is also working, and more Jamaicans are at least able to, even at a basic level, able to read and write. So that percentage has really gone up. However, there is a fear, and the fear now is that you have a lot of people who can read and write, but their critical thinking is not there at all. So you can open a book and you can open a Bible and read it, but you can't relate very well. And that is where I think a new gear has to be found, that you start to teach people how to read, cipher, and decipher what is there. So somebody picks up an Instagram thing and they can read it. Social media, they can read it. They can read what is there, but they believe exactly what is there. They do not break it down into a thought process. Early childhood education will teach them both how to deal with the critical and the cognitive thinking, how to reason things out. What is near truth and what is far truth? What is practical? What is not practical? How to argue? How to reason? And that would assist greatly in eliminating or diffusing crime and violence in society, because there would be the opportunity to reason, to argue a point out without feeling that you have been disrespected, you get dissed. And the only way to do it is by throwing a punch. So you're reading, but you're not reading between the lines then. And so I would like for us to look at ECI more, make ECI learning more applicable for what is to come. Programs like Josh, we have homeschooling, and I applaud anyone who decides that they want to train or teach their children at home. There are a lot of advantages to it. And so I would like to say that something more deliberate be done from the ministry level, where these teachers are incorporated. And I would hope that Josh, in their wisdom, would meet with the minister soon and find out, should we be integrated into the teaching process at the teachers' colleges to ensure that your child is getting the best ECI exposure, the best primary exposure, and the best secondary exposure, because you don't ever want them to be sidelined because they weren't in the what they call it, institutionalized learning stream, and so early childhood education and adult literacy program, one can eliminate the other, because if you have early childhood education, the money that you're spending at the back end, you wouldn't need to spend it. And I would dare to say that it probably costs you less. It costs you less to teach an early child, because the brain is more functional than I want to develop at that time. Additionally, the time when a person is in a class learning to read and write, they could be out there producing, earning for themselves and their family, and dovetails into paying taxes, because they would go to the store to buy because they're earning more, so the GCT comes back around. So that's how you want to look at the argument. And so the cost factor there, if you're going to look at the cost factor, and also you would eliminate some petty arguments that turns out into serious fights and maiming and loss of life, because they'll be able to reason more. They'll be able to look each other in the eye and forget. Reconciliation will be a part of life, because you and I would not have a Stokeley and Miss Panton, you and I wouldn't have a certain conversation or argument over if I step on your foot. I would turn to you and tell you sorry, and you said, not a problem, man. I would turn it into a joke and say, by the way, step on my clocks and you have to pay for it. It's a joke. But when somebody has not been exposed to reading Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, they're not being exposed to reading the Bible, reading all the different books, and not going to a church and somebody just quote the Bible to them. God made the world in 7 days, or God said don't do this, or God said don't say that. You are not reading it for yourself. And you're going back to your pastor, you're going back to your priest and saying, what is really meant here? Because I read it here and looked in the dictionary and this word means that. Why is it being interpreted this way? There's a different view on life. But what is happening now, the gadgets that we are using now is teaching adults how to reason, and it's also teaching our children how to reason. Early childhood education sets that tone that you can't fool me. You can bring it, you can bring the foolishness in, but you can't fool me. I'm going to listen to you. Out of being respectful, I'm going to listen to you. But I'm not going to follow what you're saying. And therein lies reason. Yes.
I want to bring back in Fully Deep Panton at this point, but I'll just say quickly, homeschooling, topics that touch on homeschooling in any way always interest me. I was homeschooled up to age 5. So I remember that experience vividly, and I went to regular school, quote unquote, and ended up repeating a lot of what I'd learned from parents at home. I already knew what they were teaching us. But truly, Lee Panton, I touch you on here because Stuart Jacobs might be right. We need to incorporate early childhood, training, more so, if it's not already being done. The teachers are being trained. But truly, Panton, a lot of persons, who are running early childhood institutions, well, maybe not so much now, but certainly previously, received no training. They just knew
still exist
instinctively what to teach the children, and a lot of children came out of that basic school system, early childhood system. Maybe someone had a class on the veranda. They converted their carport to a class, their living room into a class. And these persons have moved on through life and are doing quite well in society. Any comments on that, Truly Lee Panton?
Most definitely. Jacobs, I don't know if everybody see me shaking off my head, because it's definitely all of what you said is pretty much encapsulated in fundamentally why we homeschool. So I'm just going to quickly, because I know we're almost out of time. So I'm going to just
2 seconds if you can.
I know. So definitely, first of all, the government is taking on too much to manage the system. And the reality is that it should be a shared responsibility. The parents must be a critical part of the equation. And that is why we're seeing gaps in the system. All of the things that we speak about, the need for a Jamal. Again, you spoke about the social context of Jamal as an institution. We know that's the 1970s. I mean, that was a little over 100 years after slavery. So we know the society that we're dealing with at that point in time. So there was a need.
Only because of time, give us 1 or 2 bullet points. I think we're almost.
All right. So that is one. Also, I learned a lot of my critical thinking skills from my father. And from discussions with my father, debates with my father. So that is very important. The need for parents to be supported, to be better parents, very, very important. And I think that's critical to early childhood development.
Give us 1
also,
or 2 more.
Finally,
Yes.
Finally, I will say that the learning as well, there's too much focus on the academics and very little on the psychosocial skills. And again, the home is the best place to learn those skills, and that accounts for a majority of the gaps that we are seeing. That's why you spoke about those persons who start their little basic school without technical knowledge. The fact is they were nurturers, and so they were able to set the right foundation so that the child can themselves be free to learn in future years. And so those building psychological wellness is critical to the development of children's overall learning capabilities.
Because of time, Trudy Lee Panton, I think you've made the point. I want to thank Trudy Lee Panton and Stuart Jacobs. Very important discussion this morning. Thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts. A lot of food for thought for the new minister, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Time by Jam Bank is
7:31.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Febreze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plus, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
Life gets busy. From work to play, but don't forget your health check. NHS Card now offers discounts on PSA tests and pap smears to help check for prostate and cervical cancer. Women 21 and over get a subsidy for pap smears every 3 years. And men 40 and over receive an annual subsidy for PSA tests. Get your NHS card today. The NHS is here for health. The NHS is here for you.
Guardian Life. Guardian Life. For every generation, for every stage, you've had it for 25 years. Guardian Life.
Don't miss the next episode of the Mailbox as we will look at young men and ministry. November is Youth Month, and young men in Christian ministry can be a key influence in the lives of their peers. Churches can also engage them in a number of ways, including providing opportunities for them to preach, teach in Sunday school classes, and actively participate in youth ministry gatherings. You are invited to join the conversation with Pastor Stephen Blake, aka the Dancehall Pastor, on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. on the Family Station. Low 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. only on the Family Station. Love 101, the Mailbox, Monday up.
Yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the news sources to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have in the Gleaner a little bit of, well, a story here that intersects both sports and the weather. Interestingly, in the Gleaner, more delays. Rafael puts interesting final 8 matchups on hold again. Rafael, that is Tropical Storm Rafael, puts interesting final 8 matchups on hold again. Fans waiting for the start of the quarterfinals of both the Issa Water, Da Costa and Manning Cup competitions will have to wait a little while longer. A late release from the Intersecondary School Sports Association put paid to the, there's a possibility that the game's already postponed from today, maybe getting underway tomorrow. That's the essence of what is there. And the games had originally been put off until today because of the passage of Tropical Storm Rafael. However, with the insistence of rain up to late evening, Issa made the decision to push the games back again. We turn now to Loop Jamaica News. Trump claims a powerful mandate in election night speech. And we have in the Jamaica Observer, Trump wins White House in stunning comeback. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Of course, coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, with the new Minister of Education at the head, what would you like her to focus on going forward? If you haven't done so, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Every Saturday, 7 p.m. to midnight on Love 101. You're invited to travel in time with music at its best. A gospel music machine with the gospel music master. From your favorite choir music to Christian contemporary, a touch of reggae and the Caribbean feel.
Gospel music machine.
Nigel play the tune. Yep, the gospel music master is still playing the tunes down alone. And he's definitely your music master. Saturdays, 7 p.m. to midnight. You won't regret the link. It's on the family station, Love 101.
Don't miss the next episode of the Mailbox as we will look at young men and ministry. November is Youth Month, and young men in Christian ministry can be a key influence in the lives of their peers. Churches can also engage them in a number of ways, including providing opportunities for them to preach, teach in Sunday school classes, and actively participate in youth ministry gatherings. You are invited to join the conversation with Pastor Stephen Zink, aka the Dancehall Pastor, on Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Low 101. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, November 6th at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station, Love 101, the Mailbox. Monday up.
Yes. Strong man. Integrity man.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We move right into the second watch. And in this second watch, we're going to be looking at the topic, just a reminder to those persons who might just be joining. What does Christian persecution really look like? What does Christian persecution really look like? And As the days draw nigh, we're told that persecution of Christians will increase. That is one of the signs of the times. They have been telling us that for a mighty long time, though. So, what is meant by persecution of Christians? Is it only meted out to missionaries and persons in regions where Christianity is less practiced or not practiced at all? What does it look like? We have as guests today to look at this very interesting but also very important topic, Nicola Carrara, Jamaican missionary to Argentina, and Pastor Harry Walcott, pastor of the Christian Life Fellowship and co-founder of the Jamaica House of Prayer, otherwise known as JHOP. Pastor Walcott, Nicola Carrara, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Sir Stokeley.
A pleasure having you both. Now, first of all, I'll jump right into it. What is meant by Christian? Well, let me frame it another way. What is meant by persecution of Christians? What is meant by persecution of Christians? Pastor Walcott, would you like to make a go at that?
Yeah, well, good morning again to everybody. Christian persecution is, as defined by Open Doors Ministry, it says any hostility experienced as a result of proclaiming the name of Jesus. And it can take different manifestations, but it is basically persecution, ridicule, which includes ridicule and even martyrdom, that is the result of your proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ.
Well, Pastor Walcott, in that short definition, I can perhaps point to a myriad, a litany of situations in which I have been persecuted as a Christian. Just going to work and saying that you're a born-again Christian, and the noses, people turn their noses up at you, they look down on you, they start to think they're better than you and you're stupid, or you must lick your head, to use a Jamaican phrase. A bright fella like you, how comes? Why? Thank you very much for that, Pastor Walcott. Very interesting. Any hostility. Nicola Carrara?
Yes, exactly. That is it. My definition would be the Open Doors definition also. And what is difficult about this too is that many people get rejected by their families. They get ostracized. Many people, I've heard of so many of these things happening, like in a place like Turkey. Once you become a Christian, that's it, your family, your community, many places in the Middle East. And so it's very difficult for some people to even want to say that they are a Christian.
And I think in some countries, depending on their religious faith, converting to Christianity might even be illegal.
Yes.
So from an institution and legal framework, the persecution is embedded.
Right.
It is institutional, so to speak, if I could use that terminology. Harry Walcott, Pastor Harry Walcott.
Yes, the persecution occurs on the level of your personal life, like what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
You in your workplace, in your home. One scripture says a man's enemies shall be those of his own household, one of the end time signs. But there's also the persecution that comes from the state, where the Christian religion is actually in some places outlawed. And so you face persecution at that level also. Serious persecution too. I mean, you can end up in jail.
Yes.
You can end up being martyred for your faith. And it is actually happening across the nations, many nations now. And in the West, we have been basically free from major persecution. But we can see the winds of it blowing now in terms of that kind of persecution coming to the West.
I see. Well, hold those thoughts for a moment, because there are some types of persecution I want to raise with you both. But on the other side of the break, we're upon a break already. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Thank you for calling NCB's Customer Care Center. Our agents are currently serving other calls. Please hold for the next available agent.
Why wait in line to get your bank account balance? Check your account easily using the NCB Interactive Voice Response. No data, no branch visits, no app required. Hear your account balance anytime, anywhere. Simple, secure, convenient, and powered by you. Dial 888-622-3477 and follow the prompts to try it today.
Babies should be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life, and if possible, breastfeeding should be maintained up to 2 years of age and beyond. Breast milk alone provides all the nutrients your baby needs for the first 6 months and helps to protect against illnesses. Breastfeeding is an act of love that bonds mothers and babies and provides mothers protection by lowering the risk of developing cervical and breast cancer. Breast is best. This is a message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Are you looking to improve your education status or achieve a career goal? Register now with the Overseas Examinations Commission as a private candidate for January 2025 CSEC exams. Deadline is October 11, 2024. Don't miss this opportunity to achieve your academic dreams. Call us at 876-618-3721. Visit our website at overseasexams.org.jm or visit our offices in Kingston or Montego Bay. Follow us on social media at Overseas Exams. The OEC, Jamaica's Examinations Hub. Conditions apply.
When teeth diapers are difficult to change, it's time for Pampers Easy Up. They're easy to put on and take off, keeping their skin protected.
Mama work hard, for real. To do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. Further my education, and I make mama proud.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we are indeed having a very critical conversation with 2 individuals. The topic is, what does Christian persecution really look like? Our guests are Nicola Carrara, Jamaican missionary in Argentina, and Pastor Harry Walcott, pastor of the Christian Life Fellowship, or one of the pastors of the Christian Life Fellowship, co-founder as well of the Jamaica House of Prayer, otherwise known as J-Hub. Now, interestingly, Pastor Walcott, you were saying a couple of things just before the break, but I want to also invite us to consider, because you did mention the West, and it may not necessarily be, well, you never said blatant, but it sounds as if that's sort of what you are kind of saying. It's of a different sort or a different kind. It's not as open. But we do have in the West something that I'd want to raise and get your comments on it, both of you actually. Now, I'll do it by way of looking at a couple of items of, you can call them news or reports. We have a gentleman, his name is Mr. Felix Ngole. Ngole is spelled Ngole. He is African, is or was living in the United Kingdom. The headline reads, Christian wins discrimination claim after job offer rescinded over LGBT views. This story by Ashley Weber or Weber, however you pronounce it. I think in German they pronounce the W as a V. It's in the publication known as Personnel Today, published July the 1st, 2024. A Christian social worker has partly won his belief discrimination claim after a charity rescinded his job offer following the discovery of Facebook posts he had made expressing his views on homosexuality and same-sex marriage. We have another story here from another publication, and it's of a different sort. But in essence, in this other story, someone lost her, well, she had a challenge with her job. A British Airways employee suffered discrimination at work over her Christian beliefs. The European Court of Human Rights, ECHR, has ruled. And she took her case to the ECHR after British Airways made her stop wearing her white gold cross visibly. So she's wearing her piece of jewelry, a white gold cross, obviously depicting, the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, wearing it visibly. And she suffered discrimination at work because of that. Coming closer to home, depending on how you might look at the story, you might say, well, was it discrimination? Was it not discrimination? But we have here in Jamaica, Professor Brendan Bain, not telling you how to view the item, but some persons may argue or make the case that he experienced at least some level of hostility. Professor Brendan Bain wins lawsuit. This was posted in Caribbean National Weekly, CNW, August 1st, 2017. And many persons may recall what that was about. The full court in Jamaica on Monday, then obviously, ruled in favor of former UWI Professor Brendan Bain. The case involved a wrongful dismissal lawsuit against the University of the West Indies Mona campus. Now, without getting too technical, I'm not saying that he was dismissed as a result of Christian persecution, but some may look at it in that vein. In handing down the ruling on Monday afternoon, the court said Bain's dismissal from the institution was a breach of his right to freedom of expression, and the court also made some other rulings and orders, made a particular ruling in terms of what he should receive and an order. And Bain, who was director of the regional coordinating unit of the Caribbean HIV Training Network, CHART, sued the university for $40 million in 2014 for defamation of character and breach of his constitutional rights following his dismissal by the academic institution. Pastor Walcott, technically you may not be able to say these are all cases of persecution in the classic sense, but clearly there was some hostility, and it would appear as if persons were receiving pushback because maybe the views that they expressed could have been somehow influenced by their religious faith. In the case of Professor Brendan Bain, the UWI fired Bain after alleging that his constituents had lost confidence in him following his participation in an HIV/AIDS court case in Belize. Pastor Walker.
Yeah. The fact that you're a believer means that you hold to certain tenets and you have certain beliefs concerning different issues. You're going to come into conflict with people who hold different views on different matters.
Viewpoint.
Right. So those people might say that they're not persecuting you or they're not treating you the way they are because of your particular religion, but because of the view you hold. But this is another, I think, subtle way that people persecute Christians. The views of Christianity, the values that we hold come into contact, contradict the views of these other people.
Yes.
And because of the position that they may have and the influence, as in the case of Professor Bain, the influence of the university, that particular company or whatever, then you find that you come under this kind of persecution because you cannot deny what you believe, or you shouldn't, because maybe I shouldn't say you can't, but people who are strong in their belief are going to have that kind of belief affect every area of their life, and they're going to stand up for it. So you're going to find yourself coming into conflict with people of different opinions. In this case, the LGBTQ and their agenda.
Yeah, so in other words, technically and even legally, it's not discrimination for your Christianity because you're a Christian, but to the extent that you who have suffered, your life is informed by your beliefs and certain views that conflict with those of others, you experience that level of pushback, hostility. You know, Nicola Carrara, I see you nodding.
Yes, that's very true. It comes in so many different ways. But I wanted to add something because Pastor Walcott, and I need you to pray about this too. One of the things I try to do is highlight what is going on with missionaries and Christians in other parts of the world.
And I would love you to do that because I know, of course, you are working in Argentina or worked there. So I don't want to focus only on the discrimination types of matters on a legal basis. Tell us a lot about what's going on as well from your perspective.
Well, I work with missionaries in different parts of the world. One of these missionaries is Pastor Olman Sanchez, who is in Costa Rica. He goes to the indigenous people in the mountains, the Chiripo Mountains. When he goes there, he has to meet up with shaman sorcerers. Now, these sorcerers, they tell him, shaman sorcerers. Yes.
This is now witchcraft.
Witchcraft, yes.
Raw witchcraft. Yes.
Raw witchcraft, and they come to him and they say, we need you out of the mountains because your presence here is affecting our witchcraft. And he has stood firm, but many missionaries have left.
Goodness, good and evil clashing.
Good and evil. But these things don't make the news. Pastor Ullman is not known by anyone much in the world, you know? And so like stories like these, they get missed. And the church is not praying about them because they don't know. You know, in Colombia, in the jungles of Colombia, where pastors are going out and trying to minister to people, the drug lords don't like that. And so pastors are killed, you know, and this has been going on for years.
Meaning they're shot, and they're murdered.
Yes. But if you dig deep, you will find that this is happening. But some, even if you dig deep, you're not going to hear about Pastor Ullman Sanchez, you know? And so we have these things happening and we don't realize that there is a warfare. There is a spiritual warfare going on, you know, that the devil himself is persecuting us, you know, and using his diabolical devices and people to actually do this. But we miss that. So there is that there happening right here in the West.
We're totally out of time already, Pastor Walcott. What parting words do you want to leave with us? Because the types of persecution are varied, and whether we call it persecution in the temporal sense or we don't, we are experiencing hostility. To use a word you used initially or earlier on, Pastor Walcott. What parting words you want to leave with us?
Prepare for persecution. That's what I would say to the church. You know, anybody who would live godly in this present world is going to suffer persecution, the Lord says. So I would say to the believer, especially in this time when I think we are at the end of the age and this is going to increase, prepare for persecution. Get into the word, spend more time in prayer, look to God, preach the gospel. But prepare.
There this morning, I want to thank both of you. I think we get the message. Prepare for persecution. Amen. Pray. Get into the word. Pastor Harry Walcott and Nicola Carrara, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts today.
You're welcome.
Very, very, very crucial discussion this morning on that topic. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues, and visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marsh. We hand you back to Love in the Morning with Chicago.